Okay, hello everyone. So I'm not a speaker today, but I'm requested to introduce our speaker today by Matt. So I think some of you have seen or know Matt before. So Matt is a second year advisor, and he is previously. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me? So anyway, Matt is a previous advisor from Taipei, and he will be also be basing in Kaohsiung for the next semester. So it will be a really valuable asset for us. So Matt has something with his audio. He will join. He will quit and join really quick. Hi Matt, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, all right. So I think my something's wrong with my audio, so I can't hear you, but it's good you can hear me. So good enough. All right. So good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see all your faces again. Um, and let's see, from 1 to 5, how is everybody feeling right now? With 5 being the best and 1 being the worst. If you could just type it in the chat. 4. Good. All right. Cool. All right. Oh, Libra, I feel you. It's hard getting out of bed. Anyway, today is our back to school workshop. It's going to be a pretty light and informal workshop just because I know all of your schedules are pretty hectic and you have a lot of assignments and you're in the process of a lot of new transitions and getting to know your new school assignments. So just take it easy. This is going to be more informal, more relaxed session. Okay. And just a reminder, in the field of TESOL and ESL, we have a lot of acronyms. My favorite acronym is ESID. So ESID stands for Every Situation is Different. Um, and this is important because it's very hard to compare your experiences, whether you're in Jinmen, Kaohsiung, Pingdong, whether you're in elementary school with second and first graders or fourth and fifth graders or fifth and sixth graders, whether you're doing CLIL or culture and reading classes, you all are going to have very, very different experiences and it makes it hard to compare. So just focus on your own schools, and it's probably best not to compare your experiences with other people just because the contexts are so different. Okay? All right, so today's outline, part 1 will be reflection, discussion, and growth. We'll talk about some things from last year and our goals and plans for this coming year. Part 2 will just be some general reminders and tips for getting back into the school routine. Part 3 will be a building a community of practice. And then part 4, if we have time, we'll do what I hope is a fun interactive activity. And our goal for today is just to get back into the back to school mode, set the groundwork to have the best year and experience possible. Because if you're like me, just the quarantine and COVID kind of is draining, right? So I'm sure a lot of us are having problems just getting motivated and getting hyped for the new upcoming semester, given with all the uncertainties that are surrounding us. So let's just be positive, try to motivate each other, and get excited for this coming year. All right, so we have a question. Where's our question? Okay, All right, from 1 to 5, could you type, how excited are you to be back in Taiwan? 1 is May, 3 is yay, and 5 is super hyped. All right. And if you feel uncomfortable answering, you do not have to answer. All right, lots of 5s. Beautiful. All right, so overall, you guys are pretty hyped. All right, next question. 6, wow, off the scale. From 1 to 5, how excited are you to go back to school? 1, May. 3, sort of. 5, can't wait. 3, 5, okay. All right, so kind of answers all over the place. Yeah, I get it. It can be quite the hurdle getting back into the school mentality and the teacher mode, lesson planning, classroom management, crazy wild kids. But we also have to remember all the positives, you know, seeing the kids smile and delivering successful lessons, getting to know our teachers and our students. So focus on the positive stuff and try to ignore all the draining parts of going back to school. Might help you get hyped a little more. All right, next question. What is your current motivation level? And again, if you're uncomfortable answering, you don't have to. But 1, I miss my bed. 3, I can do it, I guess. And then 5, I'm super hyped. All right, so kind of in the middle of the road. Yeah, and I feel, yeah, I don't blame you. But hopefully after today's workshop and the rest of the orientation and getting to know your schools, this excitement can start to come back. All right, our next question. All right, in 1 word only, I want you to describe what you're most looking forward to this semester. Only 1 word. Okay. And the coordinators, you can answer this too. City, okay. Okay, we get a 3-for-1 answer. Curiosity, great. And would anybody like to explain their answers? I'm not sure if I can hear you, but it can help the rest of the cohort. Any volunteers to explain why you chose this word? All right, Joseph is excited to meet the new kids and see what they're passionate about. Excellent, Joe. Yes. So getting to know your students is probably one of the most exciting parts about teaching. And it can almost be a little mystical when you realize just how unique all your students are. And the more you get to know them, the more you discover how unique and special each and one of your students are. And also we can use this knowledge to deliver culturally relevant teaching and find ways to integrate their passions and their hobbies and what they're interested into our lessons. So great. All right, next question. In 1 word, describe what you anticipate to be the greatest challenge this year. Expectations. Balance. Distance. So switching between schools, good. Budgeting. Hey, Gretchen, I like your answer. Do you mind explaining it? You can do it with your audio. Expectations. I think that's a big one for this coming year.
I think on a lot of fronts, I think that since we're ETFs, we're going to have more expectations from our schools, probably. I also think we're all probably coming in with some amount of expectations from what we want to get from this year. I think there's just a lot of internal and external expectations that might or might not come true.
All right, so I don't know why my sound's not working, but yes, I think expectation, just with all this uncertainty, is it going to be online classes? Is it going to be in-person classes? It's just hard to manage our expectations, but at the end of the day, we can always just do our best, right? Whatever this situation is, just put your heart into it, you know, show your students your passion and your smile and your positivity. But a lot of this is just out of our hands, but we can be in control of, you know, delivering high quality lessons, whether it's in person or online. But yes, nobody really knows what's going to happen, but we can just hope for the best. Great. All right, last question. In one word, describe what is good teaching. Intentional. Good. Perspective. Flexibility. Awesome. Engaging. Great. Passion. Excellent. Let's see. Aaron, would you like to explain why you chose the word engaging?
Yeah, I chose it because I feel like teaching being engaging works on a variety of levels, like engaging with the students' culture, like we mentioned before, being willing to like put yourself out there and like take some risks for the sake of being engaging, I feel like is another big part of it. I think just in general, it just shows that you know your students and like what will make them most interested in learning. And so that's why I chose that word.
Awesome. So I like when you said you have to be willing to take risks. So a lot of teachers, they play it safe, right? And then if you're too safe in your lesson plans and your activities, then it gets predictable, right? So you always need an element of suspense. And part of this involves kind of some of your activities aren't going to go so well, especially your newer ones. But if you only do your safest and best activities, you can never grow as a teacher, and your students don't get to experience these new activities, these new games. So I think we should do better to share with each other that sometimes our lessons don't go well, and that's okay. Sometimes they go awesome and amazing. Sometimes our activities, they're home runs, but other times, you know, it's just doesn't go as well as you hoped. And this can be very frustrating with a new activity where you put a lot of time in preparation for it. And when those don't go well, it really can be demoralizing and demotivating. But I encourage you all just to be honest with each other. You know, I had this great activity, but but this one didn't work so well. And then you can kind of like communicate and brainstorm and collaborate why. And Virgil, you said unrestricted. Would you like to explain that?
I think if there's two limits of your class in my block, you're creative.
All right, so Virgil, you just like a limited creativity and limited freedom in your lesson design. So don't put any barriers. Believe anything is possible. And I think this is especially true back to the word expectations. So the Pygmalion effect says the expectations you have kind of determines reality. And this is true for teacher expectations of their students. The higher the teacher's expectations they have, actually the better performing their students are. So I'd encourage you all to have very high expectations and just believe in your students, because the more you believe in your students as a teacher, the better they're going to succeed in the classroom. Great. And okay, next slide. All right, so now we have one of my favorite quotes on teaching. And let's see if we could read this as a group. Let's see. Kenny, could you read the pink one? And then let's see. Joe, could you read the blue one? And let's see. Lillian, could you read the orange? And Reese, could you read the last, what is that, red?
Okay, so after 3 decades of trying to learn my craft, every class comes down to this. My students and I, face to face, engage in an ancient and exacting exchange called education. The techniques I have mastered do not disappear, but neither do they surface. Face to face with my students, only one resource is at my immediate command: my identity, my selfhood, my sense of this I who teaches, without which I have no sense of the thou who learns.
One student I heard about said she could not describe her good teachers because they were so different from each other, but she could describe her bad teachers because they were all the same. Their words float somewhere in front of their faces, like the balloon speech in cartoons. With one remarkable image, she said it all. Bad teachers distance themselves from the subject they are teaching, and, in the process, from their students.
Here is a secret hidden in plain sight. Good teaching cannot be reduced to technique. Good teaching comes from the identity and integrity of the teacher. In every class I teach, my ability to connect with my students and to connect them with the subject depends less on the methods I use than on the degree to which I know and trust my selfhood, and am willing to make it available and vulnerable in the service of learning.
Good teachers join self, subject, and students in the fabric of life because they teach from an integral and undivided self. They manifest in their own lives and evoke in their students a capacity for connectedness. They are able to weave a complex web of connections between themselves, their subjects, and their students, so that students can learn to weave a world for themselves. The methods used by these weavers vary widely. Lectures, Socratic dialogues, laboratory experiments, collaborative problem-solving, creative chaos. The connections made by good teachers are held not in their methods, but in their hearts, meaning heart in its ancient sense, the place where intellect and emotion and spirit will converge in the human self.
All right, thank you for reading. So I want you to take, oh, Joe's clapping. I want you to take a moment just to read this again and take about 30 seconds just to dwell on the passages and think about, does any of this connect with your experience last year or resonate with your own teaching philosophies? And if so, why? So take about 30 seconds just to reflect on this passage, and then hopefully a few of you can share. All right, would anybody like to share their thoughts or reflections on this passage?
I can jump in here. I love the first sentence of the red paragraph, particularly where they say, good teachers join self, subject, and students in the fabric of life because they teach from an integral and undivided self. And that just resonated with me partially because of some reading that I've done related to something called integral theory, which is sort of what he seems to be alluding to here. But it's generally the sense that this interrelation between humans, like seeing each other's humanity, is what really allows teaching to impact people, I guess. And this just kind of reminded me as well of some experiences I've had in the classroom where, my teacher could be having their best day or their worst day, but if I feel that shared humanity with them, if I feel that connection to them, then I'm going to be engaged with what they're saying and ready to learn. And so I really liked that one sentence in particular.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Aaron. Would anybody else like to share? How about Brendan?
Yeah, I forget exactly where it is in the paragraph, but talking about how the good teachers are ones that have a good understanding of themselves, their identity, and their integrity, and that those are the ones that students are most able to connect with. I've had students at different times here come up to me and say such and such was such a good lesson because we could see how much you enjoyed teaching it, versus other times where I've just kind of maybe taught something from a textbook or something like that, that maybe I wasn't able to connect to it as well, and so they weren't able to either. And so it just makes a big difference on how much I am connected to the material, and then how that is communicated to the students when they're learning.
Absolutely. So I think this passion is infectious. If you enjoy teaching it, your students in turn are going to enjoy your lesson. And as Aaron said, this idea of integral and teaching as this web of connections about sharing humanity, right? Kind of the scary side of this is you have to know who you are to be an effective teacher, right? If you know who you are, then you can be authentic, right? You can be an authentic teacher for your students to relate with. So this year and the previous year is going to be a process of self-discovery, right? So you're going to be determining who you are, and I think as you evolve and mature as teachers, this is going to go hand in hand. It's going to go in parallel with your own discovery of who you are. All right. So I think students, they deserve an authentic teacher to relate to. So at the end of the day, how do you be a good teacher? Be yourself. all right? Share your passion. Let your passion come out in the front of the classroom. Technique and teaching principles, they're important, but they're not all of teaching, right? Teaching is this human endeavor about building these webs of connections and discovering who your students are and your teachers are, and just letting this all flow in the classroom. So it's really a beautiful exchange. So I'd encourage you all, I know kind of the English field, we can get trapped in this English clown, right? Where we're just, dancing around the classroom, we're a caricature. But energy and passion is important, but also don't lose that sense of authenticity in your classroom. All right, so let's keep going. I think we only have 20 minutes left. But this is from Parker Palmer, The Heart of the Teacher. It's a beautiful book. This is a chapter from the book. If you're interested, I can post the PDF later, maybe in our Google Classroom. Just optional assignment. All right, what not to do in the classroom. Let's see. Sit down, be quiet, and learn. Students say, yes, sir. Good, repeat after me. Students say, repeat after me. All right, so that was just a joke. But these negative emotions interfere with learning. And this is also known as does anybody remember? Give you some hints.
Affective.
All right. Good. So yes, the affective filter says that negative emotions, stress, and anxiety actually impede and interfere with the learning process. So the more kind of negative emotional states our students are in and experiencing, they actually learn less. So on the flip side, to counter this, we can establish a positive learning environment, right? And how can we do this? We can encourage and praise our students often. So this can be verbal, visual, or physical. Physical could be a high five or a fist bump. But with COVID, follow whatever restrictions your school has with any contact. Visual could be just a big smile or a thumbs up, just positive energy. Verbal, awesome, great job, very nice, good communication. And we should praise with sincerity and authenticity as well. Establish a positive teacher's presence, and I think this involves heart, body, and mind. Our heart, we have to be filled with passion, effort, empathy, care, and sincerity. The body, our teacher presence should be confident, welcoming, friendly, and enthusiastic. In the mind, we always have to challenge our students, right? It shouldn't be too easy or too hard. We have to find that perfect middle area where we're challenging our students without them getting frustrated. So we need to constantly stimulate, validate, and support their efforts. And then it's always a good teaching practice to reward good behavior, right? Reward participation in effort. So have a consistent reward system, which could be stickers, stamps, reward charts, stamp sheets, team points, participation points, and incentive systems. And then on the flip side, when you have these incentive and reward systems, if students misbehave, you can always take them away. So you have that leverage. All right. Next slide. So just some general back to school tips. 1, so make sure you're adding lots of visuals in your lesson plans. Images are engaging. Make sure you're building suspense. So don't just tell them something, get them to guess. Don't just show them something, always tease them first. So I always say tease, don't tell. And then make your lessons interactive. You can do this by asking yes or no questions, have students point to the object or the color, or asking X or Y questions. Which do you like, cheeseburgers or pizza? Something like that. 4, don't make it too complicated. Keep it simple. My golden rule is simple but interesting. And then 5, remember at the end of the lesson or in the beginning of the next lesson to review key points. So we always want to make sure our students are digesting the material. We have to make sure that they're actually learning. And then we have to make sure we're designing high quality lessons. So I encourage you before the semester starts just to scan your textbook. Notice how it's sequenced. What are the target languages? What are the key vocabularies? How are the units divided? And of course, how can you supplement the material with beyond the textbook material? And then start activity sketching. So always have in your mind maybe 5 activities that you would like to try that you haven't tried. And this can guide you throughout the semester. Of course, you always have your go-to activities, but always remember to combine those with kind of untested and untried activities, just to make sure your classroom's not getting sterile or predictable. And then establish your role early. So a lot of you might be going to new schools and working with new LETs and new teachers. Remember early on to have an open dialogue with your LET. What role do you want to have in the classroom? How do you want your students to see you? So a lot of this is going to be established your first week. So just be mindful of how you want to be viewed and what role you want to have in the classroom. And of course, get to know your students. It's an old teaching saying, in order to teach you, I need to know you. So in your first couple weeks, just try to get to know as many students as possible. Find out what are their hobbies, what are their after-school clubs, what do they want to be in the future, what are their dreams, right? What are their passions? Maybe, I don't know, are they still going to be into Demon Hunter, Demon Slayer? Who knows? Maybe there's a new show they're interested in. So find what they're interested in, and then find ways we can integrate what they're interested into our lessons. And when we do this, we are going to have a culturally relevant teaching, which begins by building culturally relevant relationships with our students. And culturally relevant materials come from our students' field of experience, including cultural symbols and images. And what it does is it's going to activate their background knowledge. So we're going to combine the unknowns of content and language with the knowns of things that they already know. And this combination can really help facilitate learning. It's also going to validate your students' identity when we can integrate their identity in the classroom. And what's easy, this cultural input can be readily supplied by students, right? Because it's what they're interested in. You can throw a question to the class, and their responses are going to supply the culturally relevant materials. And if you want your students to have lifelong memories in your classroom, then we should try to make our lessons Roumier. So Roumier stands for culturally relevant lessons using useful target structures with meaningful contents, with comprehensible inputs, and high engagement. All right, so the more Roumier we can make our lessons, the better. I think we can skip the activity. Okay, actually, the activity swap, maybe in the chat box, if you could just name your favorite activity or game you used last year. I don't think we have time to explain them, but hopefully we can just Google the activities later. So I'll give you like a minute to think about and reflect on your favorite activity or game last year, and just to type it in the chat box. All right, so a lot of great activities. Eliza, what is TRAS? Don't know that one. Yes, so I think part of trash can, oh, that sounds fun. Yes, part of teaching, so as you all are aware, probably one of the most difficult parts of teaching is the burden of lesson planning. So I think we can all support each other just by sharing activities, strategies, and ideas that worked well in our classroom. So we just have these ready-to-go resources available for each other, and we can brainstorm ways to best facilitate this, whether it be using Google Classroom as kind of a resource sharing medium. I know we have Google Drive, but I think it's a little difficult just with the interface, or maybe there could be a wiki set up. But this is something I think we can brainstorm and collaborate before the semester starts, just to start building this community of practice to hopefully reduce this teaching burden, especially with lesson design and coming up with activities for the coming semester, coming 2 semesters. And then speaking of activities, I would like to share a new activity in the last 9 minutes that we have. So it's going to be a team game. I think we can do 3 teams. We have Team Kaohsiung, Team Jinmen, and Team Pingdong. Okay, sound good? All right, so I'm gonna share my screen. Is that now? Okay. All right, so here is a new board game activity. I can't see you guys or hear you, so let's see. I'll let Team Jinmen pick first. Do you want to be Mario, Bowser, Peach, Goomba, Toad, or Yoshi?
Yoshi.
Yoshi, okay. And then let's see, Team Kaohsiung. Do you want to be Mario, Bowser, Peach, Goomba, or Toad?
What's the mushroom guy's name again, next to Yoshi?
That is Toad.
Toad.
All right, good choice. And then last but not least, Team Pingdong. Do you want to be Mario, Bowser, Peach, or Goomba?
Let's be Goomba.
Goomba, all right. So we'll probably have time for a couple rounds. So at 350, who's ever in first place, we'll call the winner, all right? Let's see, so we're gonna have Team Yoshi go first. So Team Yoshi, tell me when to say stop. Did you say stop?
Stop.
All right. So Team Yoshi, you got 4 points, or go to space 4. And Team Yoshi, your question is, share one effective way to give instructions.
In simple words and in as much, like, as few words as you can, short and simple.
That's right. So we call that elaborating input. So use simple English, slow down, don't use slang, don't use idioms, and repeat yourself often and use visuals. Very good. All right, so Team Yoshi, you got 4 points. All right, next we have Team Kaohsiung. All right, and again, tell me when to say stop. Stop. Oh no. All right. Team Kaohsiung, you got 1 space. All right, your question is, oops. All right, Team Kaohsiung, give a 30-second motivational speech to your cohort. Since we lack time, you can make it a 10-second speech.
All right, guys, we're in one of the best cities in Taiwan, and we've all already been through the ringer here. We've taught before, and we all chose to come back because we had a great time last time. So this time, let's have another great time, but twice as much fun because it's twice as long. Yay.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that speech. All right, and last, okay, we have Team Goomba. Again, tell me when to say stop.
Stop.
All right. You also got 1 point. All right, Team Goomba, your question is, what is a lesson objective?
Are you asking for an example or like the definition of a lesson objective?
I think this one is the definition.
Something that you intend for a lesson to accomplish, or like a particular bit of knowledge usually, or a skill.
Right. It's that specific thing you want your students to learn at the end of the lesson. And when we don't have a lesson objectives, our lesson tends to be just all over the place, too general, and it's very hard to measure what students are learning when we don't really have an objective in mind. So the lesson objectives and the assessments go hand in hand. And I think we have time for one more quick round, so let's keep going. Team Yoshi. All right. Say stop.
Stop.
All right. Also 1. Interesting. Okay. Your question is, what are 3 goals you have for the upcoming year?
I'm hoping to get more involved in some school activities, learn some more Chinese, and meet some more local friends.
Awesome. So very practical and I think achievable goals. All right. Next, Team Toad. Let's see. When you're ready, say stop.
Stop.
All right. 4 points. Team Goomba should be at 5, shouldn't they?
Yoshi, not Goomba.
For Yoshi. Okay. Let's see. I'm bad with numbers. All right. Did I fix it? All right. Team Toad, your question is, what does CLIL stand for? This is a hard one.
Content learning in language? Content learning something.
Actually, I don't even know. It's content and language integrated learning. I'll give it to you. Yes, because you got the in. So content and language integrated learning. I think it's easier. CBI is content-based instruction. All right. So Toad, you got 4 points. And our last roll will be Ping Dong. Team Goomba. Wait. Yoshi should be at 5, right?
I think so, but we'll take it.
All right. No cheaters allowed. Okay. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right, Team Goomba. So you need a 5 to win. 5 to win. Are you ready? When you're ready, say stop.
Stop.
All right, so you got 1 point. And your question is, describe a co-teaching experience that went really well. what factors do you think contributed to going well?
I did an Easter activity that was super fun, and I think the thing that made it the best was that I had a lot of support from my LET. So one of us would go like hide the eggs while the other introduced Easter vocab, and could not have done it by myself because who would have hid the eggs? So support.
That's right. So as co-teachers, you have to support each other. Let's see. Yoshi's 5. I think I messed up this scoring system, didn't I? But it's okay. It's just for fun. But if you want to use this activity, it's pretty easy. You just click on the character and the space that they'll move to. And then if they land on a negative space, you can roll a negative roll. Okay, they're safe. Safe. So that would be -1, and you would just move them back 1 point. All right, so we'll share the link for this. It's really just a board game. So hopefully you have a new activity that you can use, whether it's online or in person. But you can use any review questions that you want, and just do a better job of keeping track of the scoring. So it's really simple. I don't know how I screwed it up, but it happens. But I think we're out of time. It's 3:52. I know you guys have a busy day ahead of you. I think on Monday you'll have your CLIL workshop, and you'll get to meet Celine and Sean for the first time. So they will be hosting the next workshop on Monday. So before we go, does anybody have any last minute questions on anything we discussed today? Do you mind sharing your line ID? Sure. Let me post it. Let me check what it is first, and then I'll post it in the chat. And while I search, does anybody else have any questions? Or email if you prefer. I'm searching now. All right, so I'll post my line ID in the chat. Feel free to add me, send me a question, or if you want to collaborate or brainstorm on anything, be happy to discuss it. And are there any other questions or concerns? If not, I think that's a wrap. You've all been a wonderful audience. Again, today was just kind of more informal session just to help you get motivated and back into the back to school mindset. But I know, despite all these uncertainties that we're experiencing right now, we can still make the most of it. And I really believe that you all are going to have positive experiences of a lifetime this year. And it's only going to be accomplished if we support each other as well. So remember to support your cohort. If you have any concerns, share with each other, reach out to your advisors. So we're really one big Fulbright team. And to make it the best year possible, we have to work together. But you guys have been great, and I hope to see all of you soon. So take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.